Decades-long dispute between the town of Andrews and Georgetown County. The town filed a lawsuit against the county in 2021, claiming they had not given them the full amount of money promised in their 2014 penny sales tax referendum. Anna Harris breaks down the story.
With a municipal complex sitting here half done in the town of Andrews.
Operations has been constrained.
This building is meant to house the Andrews Fire and Police departments, but according to a 2021 lawsuit, the construction had to stop because the town claims they stopped receiving the funding they were promised from the 2014 Georgetown County penny sales tax revenue. Documents state $1.5 million of that revenue was estimated to go towards the municipal complex, but when the county was collecting the total, they ended up having nearly $13 million over what they estimated. Plus, McClary says their complex ended up costing over double what was expected. In turn, the lawsuit claims the county did not fund the full cost of the rest of the project, counting the extra money as surplus to go elsewhere.
It's not the penny sales tax that we have an issue. We have an issue with the management of it.
The county's ordinance states the money collected in excess must be first applied to complete a project the tax was imposed for.
But because they felt that they've met their obligation with the town of Andrews, they cut us off.
Now it's time for the two to face off in court. That date has been set for March 17th of next year. Georgetown County says they do not comment on pending litigation, but also say they paid Andrews the original $1.5 million twice. Now, McClary was able to provide me with those receipts, but he also says they're still short about $2.7 million to finish that project. The lawsuit also claims $7 million of that surplus was set to go towards individual county council members for their own district projects.
So all of these things that are listed on here in this $7 million, they're telling me that this is more important than the lives of the people in this building and the people that come here for service. That's a problem.
In Andrews, Anna Harris, Live 5 News.
All right, everybody, welcome to Real Talk Tuesday, the #1 political show in Georgetown County and surrounding areas. Good afternoon, good evening. How you doing there, sir?
Oh man, I'm not sure. I'm not sure today. I'm a little rattled. There's been a lot going on today that got me uneasy.
So, a lot going on.
It's hard. It's hard. It's difficult right now for me to breathe. Seem like, but we're gonna work through it.
Yeah, it's you know what I mean. I can I'll say this, right? It was to be expected, and if anybody's caught off guard, it's because you wasn't paying attention, and this should be
I would say yes,
reminder.
Kinda.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's where I said it, because none of this is a surprise to me. None of the whole memorandum. Do I agree with a lot of what's going on? Some I do, some I don't. You know what I mean? But I think there's a lot of I think a lot of people operating out of fear, and I don't know if that's the healthy, and that's my opinion. But
yeah, and I think and again, you do a lot of research into politics and follow that, at all levels, and we all, and I do too, but most of my time obviously is spent at the local and state level because that's has the greatest impact. So I thought until now, and why I say, and I'll explain that in a little bit, because, and we talked about this a lot. We talked about how folks at our level doesn't realize the impact of the local and county and state has on because everyone seemed to be focused on what's happening at the national or presidential level, and that's still true. But as we look at what's happening right now, like this morning, for example, when all of the federal grants and loans were to be instantly as of 5 o'clock today, they were all, to be froze. Well, there's a lot of projects in progress. So again, when you don't have, I think there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of us reacting to it without a lot of information, because even with the document you have here, and I've been reading through that, I've had conversations with folks up in DC and local governments here. It's still not clear, because when you say freeze, that's it. Money, the thought is nothing that is currently funded, any allocation, or authorizations prior to this administration come on, all of that in people's minds is going to stop. Now, we know the second and third order effects of that. So that money stops right now. For example, at our level, when you're talking about the community development block grants or those CDBG grants, those have tremendous amount of federal dollars associated with it. That has been the CDBG and the RIA, rural infrastructure funds. All those things have really kept this town, as well as many others across this country, above water in terms of its infrastructure, not anything else, but its infrastructure, which is the greatest need for most small towns. So then when there's an automatic freeze, the assumption is those dollars right now that are not spent yet are going to be affected. So yes, that got me excited this morning, because we right now have in this, with the SCIP grant, we talk about this thing all the time. It's a lot of federal dollars associated with that. And until it is clear to the recipients, like us, does that impact the projects or the funds that have been approved, or this future? So it wasn't clear up front. So a lot of anxiety was created from this thing. A lot of people rolling around. Tonight we were going to have a few guests from actually from the DC area, but they have been called in for obviously emergency meetings now to sort out what does this document really mean, and all the other things in terms of the 300 plus executive orders. So I think, to your point, that we knew a lot was coming. We knew change was coming. We didn't know it was coming like this, and that it may impact what you have right now. So those are the things that we have to sort through, or wait for the rest of the stories. I think it's been now by federal government. It's been, all of those things have been temporarily on hold. Can't freeze them now. You have to wait until, I think, like Monday, so they can figure out what's, all these agencies and the recipients of these funds, or potential recipients of these funds, have to fully understand what these orders and guidelines mean. So it does have my pressure up a little bit.
And so let's talk about who's at risk in this freeze. From what I researched down, one of the things that was showing up on social media a lot, people was like, well, hey, they're getting ready to stop the food stamps. Well, that's the food stamp. What is that?
I don't hear it.
Okay, I guess it's on my side. I don't know what in the world that is.
There goes your privacy, just out the window. So fast things are happening, man.
I'm getting a buzzing, like a.
I don't hear any of it.
Wow, hold on, let me see what is going on over here. Maybe I got this open. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so one of the things people were saying, hey, the food stamps is going to be they're going to freeze the food stamps, and that was not. SNAP is not a part of this program. Social Security is exempt from this program, from this freeze. Medicare and Medicaid, again, I'm not clear on what the difference is. Now, from what I got, because I do work with Medicaid clients, and so yeah, you could hear it. It's going down. I don't think it's there no more. But and I got some paperwork saying that we good. The money's still there, so You know what I mean? I'm just keeping it real with
Hey,
you.
hey, I promise you, if you're not checking the accounts, because here's the thing: the intent is one thing, and then you have the folks out there that are executing these orders. What is their understanding?
There you go.
That's the thing. Who are pushing buttons? If they're operating on the president's intent or the letter of the law, we don't know. So then you could be. Someone could say, "Yep, stop this right now," without fully understanding. So it's a lot has to happen, and I think that's where, you have to proceed with caution to avoid, disrupting not just the things I just talked about in terms of the grants and things, but those things like we're saying that some have an understanding that it's going to affect, these programs that go directly to the recipients, and so it's a lot of confusion and social media really doesn't help. What have you been seeing out there?
Again, it's just the misinformation about SNAP and about the Section 8 program and what now that Section 8 program is frozen for those who are in the program now. Those funds, your Section 8 is going to continue to be is moving. The people that's vulnerable are those coming into the program or those at the end of their renewal. Okay. And so, but the thing about the SNAP, the food stamp program is that, every administration has talked about, tightening up the restrictions, the criteria, and cleaning up that, that program to be, for whatever reason. But that's something that has been kind of back and forth between both programs.
And I don't because those programs are not designed for a family to live and grow and expand off of. Those type of programs are there to help and families to get on their feet and then then begin to live and survive.
I guess that's the idea behind it, but the reality behind it is that them programs have an insidious effect on the people that end up on them. They end up in a cycle of dependency. Like, I've dealt and heard from people that have said, hey, I can't make so much more money, or if not, I'm going to be, so it's like the programs are not designed to get you off. It's like it's designed to keep you on a sick wheel.
So again, I know people like you're describing the effects of drugs. That you get on it and that's
the system is like that's a good analogy to draw onto it. Once you get onto it and you start taking these benefits, and that word is obviously needs to be redefined. And that word has an insidious effect on people, to me, because if you think you're receiving a benefit, benefits come from hard work, from doing things. And that's the way I understand the word, but it's, and again, I guess my bigger point is the fact that, hey, look, now it's like the old saying, like that saying, it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, even with this going on, what are the different churches, the leaders in these churches, what are they saying? Okay, well, you should already know if they're going to cut this these programs, those lines at them food banks going to get longer. So what are we doing to that's kind of what I would like to see on social media more, but it's more of a fear reaction that I'm seeing.
Well, saying on this topic, it is so folks have been dependent on these programs for a very long time. Again, it wasn't designed for that, but now when so does the folks who are relying on this thing, what is the plan? What is the plan now? Because I don't think this is going to change. So once it may not be affected right now, You know, we're talking about the assistance funding and those kind of things.
Mhm.
It may not be in this first rounds, but it's coming. It's going to be here in the next 4 years. They're going to be looked at real hard. They're going to be a lot of restrictions until you're weaned. Excuse my analogy. Until you're weaned off of these funds,
These programs.
These programs.
There is a shift that's going on, and people, like, we're seeing it within families, we're seeing it within organizations. People are choosing sides, and you got a healthy part of the population that's saying that's okay with this, that's okay with looking at the uncertainty in people's faces, and because these are the people that's been saying you need to get off of the system, you need to da for whatever reasons, because again, if you're a healthy adult, functioning brain, it's probably not the system to be on.
Right. And look at the we should not at this point, because if you really want to, you're talking about a pandemic. So I think it's going to have to be well thought out by the administration, and probably the following if they decide to continue along this path. Again, getting back to your original intent as an aid as opposed to a dependency, to just completely pull the rug from under folks' feet to right this wrong, for lack of a better term, would have a devastating effect. Because when if those resources have been relied on, just like drugs, ain't nobody go cold turkey without some real horrible effects on the back end of it. So then, is anyone thinking about how to do this systematically, like it was allowed systematically to become a dependency, if you will? How do we now responsibly, we as a country, how do you responsibly begin to put in or enforce the laws or whatever the case may be to say, now this is coming, and it may be incrementally, applied, but by said date, 2027, these resources will no longer be available. Then those that are again affected by it need to think about this thing. What is the plan now to be self-sufficient? Now, will that happen? I don't know.
It don't have to. But what is almost like an eminent domain type situation. This stuff is going down. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm from some of the things that I'm hearing in some of the places I hang out on the internet, man, these people are not, I got you with the incremental, rolling it out. They passed that. And it's just like, let's cut it and let's see where the chips fall, And so, because you got a segment of the population that's prepping, the preppers, and they waiting for this. This is like, they like, oh, the savior has come. You know what I mean?
But and as we pull the curtain back on this topic, on this issue, we got to, I think it's need to be said that this doesn't have a color on it.
No.
If you look
because
at
a lot of white folks who decide to play the same thing they accuse black people of playing, identity politics, okay, because that works both ways. Okay, Mima is gonna have a problem getting that Section 8. You feel what I'm saying? Or pop because it's happening to it is. It's not a race thing.
You can't. No, you can't.
It's a Dallas thing.
Yeah, because we have. I mean, you look at the numbers and the percentages of those that are in those programs or benefiting from those programs. It affects a class.
They're greater. It's more of them. It's only what we only make up 15%.
Yeah, not a certain race or target, regardless of what media may highlight or spend more time talking about. This affects Americans that are low to moderate, no income, that kind of business. So if there was a thought in your mind that voting in a certain way or making sure that certain people are in positions to do these things, and that it was going to be, affecting a population of people, no, it is a class status.
Yes, and that's where you have to think about, again, another one of these old sayings. If you're gonna dig a grave for me, you better dig one for you too. And this is where this is the situation. You feel what I'm saying? That a lot of these people, and it was a topic that came up that was across Gab, and I seen the people going, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not know who you're voting for? Like, I mean, are you with it? Or you know what I mean? And again, that's the danger of the identity politics, voting along, voting on, off of emotion and all this stuff like this, because now here we are. And so, if you have problems, with your Section 8 another question that came up tonight is how is this going to affect the Pell Grants and all this stuff? Now, I don't know, and I haven't dug too far into that. I don't think that. Okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. That may help and save a bunch of people right now, because a lot of these people get into these Pell Grants and these loans and these different things and end up in debt and be carrying debt, college debt for 40, 50, for a long time. I mean, 40, 50 years. It may be that case, but so this may be a good thing. Maybe that program needs to be streamlined.
And that's seen as good debt, if you will, because you get an education. That's a theory, theoretically. You get in debt for getting the education and go use it. Now you don't go to school, get all this debt and then quit, and then you don't have that. You don't have the.
But we have a lot of that. That's the reality for a lot of people.
Yeah, but then and that's grown folk make grown folk decisions. As life is about choices. So if you know that going into it, then you just and that's why I'd say to parents, let your kids carry some of that weight, because it adds some level of responsibility to them. Let them sign some of those grants or loans, if you will. So they can, I mean, we did it, and you got to pay it back, so you won't be in debt, the rest of your life. But I think those things are going to be affected, especially that before, the topic we were talking about prior to this, any of your food assistance program and those kind of things, or low housing that's available for people. I think these education, so across the board. So I think right now, rather the intent was just to shock the system to see how everyone responds, and then respond, and then this thing go into court and be settled through by judges. It has done that. So the shock effect it's having it. I mean, I'm talking to some very senior Department of Defense, policy makers up in DC, and they are concerned. They don't know. Okay, so the shock effect, if that was a part of the strategy, achieved. So now, how do we keep people from making decisions just based on the shock effect, and changing their lives or whatever the case may be? Now, if it's going to make you get out there and get a job, hey, kudos, whatever. That's good. Because again, I believe all of us, we all need to be able to stand on our own, based on our obviously merits and how we work. But we know the playing field is not level for everybody. So you need a booster. You need something to help you get to that point. But then once you get there, then we need to take off and take the training wheels off and go and do what you're supposed to do. I believe in that. But I mean, you're looking at programs like Meals on Wheels. A lot of discussion about it. That's going to affect our elderly people. It's not clear to the professionals that I've been listening tonight that rather those things, and even for our program here, I haven't spoken with the folks in charge of our program here in South Carolina. It hasn't been funded, so it has one more month of funding. And so now, what does that mean to our elderly population? They have become dependent upon it. I know the program we have right here in this county.
I would say, what is the question would be, what does that mean to our churches and our community leaders? Because I mean, this is the situation that we are in. So, you know what I mean? Like, again, I anticipate longer lines at the so how do we counteract what's going? The man going to do what he's going to do. And again, the other part of this is that a lot of this stuff is going to find its way in court.
Yes.
Like you were just saying. So once this starts to shake out, you know, because you already got people filed. There's already lawsuits that's been filed, but that again to my point, or to what I was just saying. How you doing, Mr. Wesley? I lost my point, Mayor. I'm sorry.
No, you were talking about it. When I was talking about the Meals on Wheels and how, you know, if it stops.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Yeah, because I think now, and I'm not sure and the reason why I think that because I get correspondence from Medicaid and Medicare with the pest control, and Meals on Wheels is a part of that program to some degree. I don't know if it's different organizations do, you know what I mean, different things in it, but it is a part of that program. It is, and
it's been a challenge, and there's been a waiting list. So I think you made the point earlier. If you're not in the program, you may not need
it. And I would encourage you to not spend a lot of time. I mean, not over amount of time. You got to think your way through this thing, and start putting in plans into, all right, well, I need to be here to eat. I mean, it's down to that level right now. So like I said, if you're trying to get in these programs, boy, it's going to be tough right now. That's the reality.
But then we as a community, as citizens, you know, and you asked a question, how do we now, this is a vulnerable population, in my opinion. They own a fixed income. These things matter. I see the reaction. I've dealt with people because I sit on a board that has oversight of a Meals on Wheels program. And I recall when I got into this thing, it was like I was getting calls and, hey, why can't I get on this? And so as I understand the details behind it, you know, there's a limited amount of funding. And at that time, and this was a couple of years ago, and so then there's a waiting list created. But still, we have an elderly person on a fixed income, or, you know, that still needs to eat and a healthy meal. And that's what this thing has done and provided for folks for a long time. And to abruptly, you know, stop that, it's just kind of irresponsible, in my opinion. I know things happen because there's so much more. We're talking about this, you know, the big picture.
Yeah, and that's kind of
the big picture. Is this one of them that we need to affect tonight, 5 o'clock today, 28th of January, 2025? Maybe not. There are other spending. If we look globally, you know, all of our money going out. We certainly have done our fair share supporting conflict, other places, you know, allies. So let's take a look at, you know, that first, dialing that back, you know.
Now, so
now our own to, and again, until they get on it. If you said it and it's a long-term thing, and if it's 2 years down the road, whatever the case may be, give folks a chance to survive. Is my point.
And again, playing devil's advocate to move the conversation along, what you just pointed out is a part of this thing, which the foreign spending, right? And I'm getting to some details here about, you know, that part of it. Okay. It's a cutback on a part of it, but a lot of it too. Now, what needs to be brought up too is some people people on this system are going to have to do some self-evaluation and say, well, okay, because if the idea is to streamline these, you know, and cut out a bunch of the fat, and again, it's going to be an ugly process, obviously, because it's just based on the day, you know, like I said, we'll see moving forward, but sometimes you're going to have to, you know what I mean, crack some eggs to make an omelet, you know?
No, you're right. You're right. And that's, you know, I have sometimes I have a bleeding heart. And I think it's not necessarily bleeding heart. I look for opportunities to help as opposed to being a hammer. But there are folks that, like you said, you know, this is it. We got to cut it here, and you figure it out. And maybe a lot of that is pushed back on the governors. You know, I'm taking these federal dollars and I'm using them for federal purposes. Then, Mr. Governor or Mrs. Governor, you figure out how to take care of your vulnerable adults, your low to moderate income folks, and maybe all that's coming back on them. I don't know. I really don't know how that is going to play out. But to your point, and I agree with you, is that you got to figure, you, me, whomever it affects, have to figure it out. And you better start now. You can't rely on somebody else right now to do that. You just can't. And so another point you made, who's in the community now that's going to help these folks who are probably not going to make this transition as quickly as they need to? Where are the resources internally? And you got to understand where I sit right now, I am a part of the government, and there is no money set aside at a local government to assist folks and stuff like this. That is not how it is. We had a long, we watched during the winter storms here last week, people crying out for shelters and stuff. There's no funding for those kind of things. That's the harsh reality of where we are. And that's not just here, that's across the board at municipalities. It just, those things are expected to be had at the state or county level, but that's just not the case. So this is no different in terms of unmet needs not being resourced. That's just where it's going to be. So you got to figure it out.
And I mean, Trump has a flair for the dramatic, and as I read through this thing and I'm looking, and it might be just what my thoughts is it is a joke to the system. Now there are going to be some programs that's going to hurt because it's the vendetta part of it, right? Like Trump is not a fan of the Green New Deal, right? And that is going to encompass a lot of what's going on around the Black River Park, because that's where a lot of that money would have been drawn from. Now, again, I don't expect Governor McMaster's to move any different than what Trump does. So I think what Trump does, he's going to mirror that. Okay, and so,
well, in this case, this is his state park. So I believe that he's committed to it.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is his state. This is the 40th state park.
Well, he got $1 billion sitting there someplace.
I know
that they didn't account for. So that's about 22 million there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So everybody's going to have to tighten up. This is a trickle down,
and so it may be a good thing. I mean, like we were approaching it as if, because I don't see no problem with saying, okay, well, if in fact you can reduce my taxes by cutting some of the fat, have at it.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? Have at it.
And I'm not go ahead, bro. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and it's just like we as the community, we got to realize that, hey man, this is where we got to look out for each other, because again, those lines consist of white, black, old, young, Mercedes, Pintos, the whole spectrum. I had to throw the Pinto in there.
But you're absolutely right, Jamal. So the thing is, how do we prepare? Where are the community? Where's the resources within the community that can step in the gap and help people along?
Yeah, and I believe in the power of prayer. Let me say that first. Mm-hmm. But it's not praying time. People say it's no. It's boots on the ground time. Okay, mm-hmm. It's prayer and action time. Time to take them prayers and put some action behind them now. That's where we at.
Because we've been praying for a long time. And I'll say continue, but you're right. That work, where's the effort? Where's the effort now? And I think that's the part. And who leads that? Who leads that in the community? Who comes together and said, okay, if this happens, it's like this preparation for what we're talking about now is no different from any other natural disaster that we anticipate coming off of the coast. How do we prepare for resources to be just cut abruptly? How do we take care of our own? And that's got to, we get that requires leaders, people coming together and sharing resources. And so again, like Helping Hands, I don't know where they get all their funds from. I know they're big in the community doing certain things and food and clothing, that kind of business. Other organizations like United Way, but somebody is pouring into those organizations that's supposed to be pouring into the community or communities. And so it's a tough time, but it has to be figured out. Otherwise, we're going to have a lot of folks perishing.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this too. Hating Donald Trump ain't gonna help right now. Okay, you should have did that during the damn election time. Like that is because at the end of the day, we're all on this plane called America, and this dude is the pilot. As crazy as he may be, I don't want him to crash the damn plane, okay? Because I don't have another plane to jump on. You know what I mean? So, like my man Dave Chappelle said, I hope that this is a part of his, magic, and and we all realize, like, man, oh man, we kind of over, I hope that's the case. But even if that's not the case, you see what it is. It ain't no secrets. You know what I mean? And we so want somebody to love us. And man, listen, this is war, okay? This is war for resources and information, which the government refers to that as intelligence. Why do they call information intelligence? So if you don't have any information, then you the opposite of intelligence. And the Bible says, this is me that had a revival on it. I'm ready to be quoting the Bible. The Bible says, but on the realist, man, that lack of knowledge thing is I didn't make it up. I know that's a reality, and we will and we shall, perish from a lack of knowledge. Yeah.
So, what are some of the questions out there? Anything out there that it's 30 minutes into the program here?
Not quite. Y'all put them questions in there so we can answer some questions about any of that part that we went over. But there's another part to it, the DEI aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like Trump is totally against DEI. Okay. And for those that don't know, DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so I seen Al Sharpton at Target. You know what I mean? Because I guess Target was like, they're not going to they're going to continue with their DEI hiring practices or whatever. And so everybody was saying that they're not going to Walmart. Let me tell you something. Y'all is not them people from the 60s back there with Martin Luther King. Back there. Y'all is not stopping all black people from going to Walmart. Cut it out. Walmart are part of the blood system.
But again, and I would say this too now, it's colorless, because there's a lot of people affected by these things. A lot of them feel that way as you look across some of the comments and talking to people. And it's going to be a way. Is it going to hurt Walmart? Probably not. It's going to hurt Amazon. I don't know who else to to order my stuff through. If
okay.
I wanted to,
Temu, we going Temu now? We trading Temu.
I don't think so. And so you'll have these kind of response and reactions to this type of stuff. And what doesn't help is all of the craziness that led up to this point. You see how wild things were during the election. You go back 8, 10, 12 years. It's been a lot happening in America that just puts people in a place. First of all, we're divided. I don't care what anybody says. We are a divided country right now. How are we going to get back there? It's going to start with the individual. If you allow yourself to be separated from your neighbor, then that's something you're going to have to fix. If this community begins to separate we're going to have to fix that. But there is a divide. And I don't think there's any simple answer to help that. But when you start to see these things coming along the way. I mean, who fired 17 inspector generals?
Trump.
Yeah. who all of things that, and again, you look at when you start talking about civil rights, and those things that ensure that people, not just people of color, but people are treated fairly. You're given an opportunity based on your merits to have, the opportunity to work wherever, do what you want to do. And things that wasn't going to be done by word of mouth. So there are laws put in place for that. And there's some supplementary things that came along, DEI, those things, again, as a concept to ensure that, your constitutional rights are being, you're given a fair shake. So a lot of things come in, and I know DEI, again, it's almost like Black Lives Matter. When these new things come along, everybody gets excited. But I believe the originators of these things say that, hey, we've consistently had, things happening in this arena that we need to do something now, again, to shake things up, to remind people that you just can't discriminate against, women, men, black, white, whatever the case may be, just because you are the boss of this company. And so then things are, and then you get the federal government said, yes, we have a problem. We've looked at cases across the country. There's a problem. All right. It could be human resources at the highest level. Bring something to me and let me know what we're going to do to address this issue. And then,
but Mayor, again, devil's advocate, I'm gonna hire who the hell I want to hire.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I built this company. Right. You know what I mean? I built this company.
Your daughter,
I'm gonna hire.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I'm gonna hire the people that reflect me and my values. And if they all black, whatever.
That may work in some cases, and we see it happening. It's all over. But as a country, as a community, or whatever the case may be, do we want that? Do we want this company to represent? Because if this product I'm trying to sell to all of it, is this a product I'm trying to sell to one group of people that we all can look alike and dance like, break dance, whatever the case may be. But if I want my company to grow, and I want it to be a representation of the people that I'm appealing to, then I'm going to have my staff is going to look like those folks. So again, and then you're encouraging people that, hey, you may want to get into IT if that's what you do. And if I'm an IT company, CEO, I don't want to miss a talented person because he or she may be white or black or Hispanic. I want the best of the best. And that best is, it doesn't look like me, then come on in. So it's a merit thing.
Again,
so that's not happening.
I'm more of a follower of the philosophy of Malcolm X. I'm gonna just go ahead and, do with that what you will, right?
That's right.
And my thing is, how many ways do people have to tell you we don't want you around? Go do your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm resigned. I think that we have it. That's just me. I think we have enough now. We've as a people, we've represented ourselves in every aspect of American life, all the way up to the presidency. You feel what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I think when Black Lives Matter came along, and if their funding wasn't by Go Blue, which is connected to the Democrat Party, I would have probably been rocking with that. But I'm a follow the money type guy, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, it seems as if with those billions of dollars, that was an opportunity right there to start building a infrastructure for Black America. Okay, why isn't there funding right there from the Black Lives Matter for a Black business owner like myself? If it's that important, you feel what I'm saying? If building up the Black businessman is that important, why ain't there Black charter schools, private schools popping up? You feel what I'm saying? Predominantly Black, and so that we could. I mean, it's just like, and nobody's stopping us from doing these things. Like, why didn't Black Lives Matter take some of them billions, and I mean billions of dollars, and open up like an Amazon a hub? You feel what I'm saying? A transportation hub for truckers, and it's just I think that's where I'm like, we keep wanting to go be in the house with somebody that don't want us in the house.
Yeah, and I'll say this, and I think it goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier. When you create a concept or an idea that's going to address a social issue, whatever it is, Black Lives Matter, DEI, whatever the case may be, there's a problem. So in this case, and anyone out there can correct me if I'm wrong, I think when Black Lives Matter came along, this was during the George Floyd time, I believe.
No, it came
that
along with the guy down in with Michael Brown.
Yeah. So again, a like situation, and so then it was to bring attention and to the fact that we're having an incredible amount of death of Black men by the hands of police officers. And so then you see the outcome of those cases, if they even become a case. What are you doing to the officers? Is it really getting a hard look to say that this must stop? And so then someone, and again, I don't follow a lot of these new ideas and stuff because it becomes too much for me. But I understand on the surface, Black Lives Matter. So the idea was, from what I gathered, is that, hey, look, we can't continue to allow these things to happen because, Black Lives Matter too. I think that's the part that didn't, too, because we don't see this happening. And I say we, I'm talking about the folks who were behind the development. We don't see this happening in other communities against other races, just that kind of a brutal brutality and the killing of the hands. And then there's no one being held accountable for that. And then this thing comes along, and just like DEI and others, and then it becomes bigger than what you expected. Then funds starts to come in. Now, what do you do? Are there responsible people behind these ideas that's going to now take these funds and do what you're talking about? If that was the original concept?
No, because
I don't know.
No, because I mean, you could take some of these cases, like even in the George Floyd case, it'll be maybe next year, this year, where the officer will come back up, because we don't follow these things that long. I follow the cases when these guys go do 2 or 3 years, you know what I'm saying, and come home, because it's just something to satisfy the uproar at the time. And then 3-4 years later, that man then came home. You know what I'm saying? Basically, he went and got away with a murder for 3-4 years. But these organizations, again, like you say, when that money start to roll in, it just they forget about the justice part
that's
of it.
Where it becomes a bad taste in folks' mouth. Again, first you didn't, was the idea behind this concept clearly explained? Was it a full development of how these, how this movement is going to be managed, and what changes are we want to come out of it, or what attention we were trying to draw to it? Because a lot of times, and if you don't, I mean, we've seen it. You've seen it. There's no, for that man, and I'm back to George Floyd, for that man's life to be snuffed out with someone's knee on his neck for that long a time, it shouldn't have to be any marches or people protest. It shouldn't have that should have been handled off the bat, in my opinion. But again,
and I mean, but Mayor, I think that, and then too, now we got to have like sometimes. Even when the system does what it does, it's not enough for us. You feel what I'm saying? Because at the point of, okay, the guy's arrested, this and that, you know what I mean? I mean, he gets his time, you feel what I'm saying? Is that not justice? Is that not the system working?
Well, and again, that you got some experts that look at this thing. Is it a slap on the hand? Are you just suspended and or fired from the job? Is that the punishment? I think that's what we're looking at in many cases. And then too, in that you got to, because there's a lot of times you got police unions and stuff involved. So firing people just not, when you got them unions involved, that's not just hey, you up out of here. And so that's where sometimes we don't understand, where they'll put them on administrative leave, and it's because that's the protocol of however. Yeah, in anything you have to investigate because due process is everybody's rights. And so then as a if you're in my department, then I'm going to have the best thing to do is separate you from the force until this investigation. Now, a lot of folks, regardless of who, a lot of folks want to see things happen now. They don't fully understand the due process, and it takes time.
Thank God for the American justice system, because if democracy ruled and the mob ruled,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
You got to go through it. It could be as clear as day, but that person's day in court is his or her right.
Yes.
And again, just because it happened today doesn't mean that it's going to be tried tomorrow. You see, so then we may be looking for instant, an instant decision or court to happen right now, but it doesn't happen like that. In our system, it doesn't happen like that. But at the end of the day, did the punishment meet the crime? And then again, it's not what we think it is, because there's things that predetermine what kind of time or penalty you get for certain cases. We may think in our mind, if it's my relative, hey, life for life. But the law may say no, if it was premeditated or not, here's what comes with that. So it's a lot that go into it. And I think because we react out of emotions, not understanding how the law and the process works, and then it continues these cases, as you say, even after it's done, we're still, going a civil route, doing all kind of other things, again, to get that
getting money. And I mean, that's the thing. Is justice? Is there a dollar figure on justice? Because it seems like a lot of these cases get settled out with a dollar figure. You know what I mean? There's no, you know what I mean? That's just,
And I guess at that point, you can't bring the person back. And I guess now, so then, and it gets a little murky, and I hesitate to judge someone's decision at that point. But you still got a lost relative. There's something terrible happen, and it's just a ripple of bad things. But the point that we were talking about here, for those who are just joining us, is we're talking about right now. The subject you brought up was about DEI, diversity, inclusion, or equity, inclusion, and I was just kind of making the point that there's a lot of things that programs and concepts that are started so we can bring focus back on treating people fairly, minimizing discrimination, those things, because you're not going to eliminate a lot of this stuff out of here. So that's kind of how this came in. But it appears to be an effort to wipe out, because I was just sent that the equal opportunity director was just fired. So all those things to ensure that we're fair when it comes down to labor. Housing,
this president clearly said, for anyone that was listening, those DEI programs would be targeted. The DEI, the transgender, a lot of that stuff I agree with now. You know what I mean? Would be targeted, and the man is holding true to form. And again, this is the Democratic Party needs to have a sit down and assess. Okay, here we are. How did we get here, and how do we now transition and move in a different direction from here?
And that's his prerogative. And I know things are going to happen. But my concern is that when you shock the entire system, I'm talking the entire country, your Department of Defense, your military, when you start talking about readiness, now these things that we look at this, so part of what I heard today, again, I don't know, what was reported is that, any transgenders, you're automatically out. Anyone who was discharged from the military for refusing to take the COVID test, you can go back in.
Yep.
Now, you really understand. I mean, being, I've served across the board to include recruitment. Well, I didn't, basic training, just taking folks from home, to the battlefield. The ripple effect that this would have on not just the personnel, but you're talking about the morale of the units. And all of that is a part of readiness. And if you don't do that, there's a proper way to do that. You have general officers and leaders at every level that should have been brought in and having a discussion, because they're the ones who know the readiness level in their unit, whether it's personnel matters, equipment, funding, whatever the case may be. Those guys and those leaders are on it. Those men and women are on it. Everyone keeps talking about how our armed forces have been weakened in the last 4 years. I call BS on that, because any one of these units, I don't care what service you send, they're going to be ready to go out there and equipped with what they need to do the job. This is not just a punchline. Our armed forces are the best in the business. And even when all this craziness is going on at the political level, because I was there when it was happening. And I would tell you, in 1990, when we were sitting there, we were in theater for probably 4 or 5 months, waiting on a decision at the highest level, at the presidential level, whether we're going to initiate Desert Storm. A lot of political stuff in it, but on the ground, we are preparing. We didn't have in the unit I had, we didn't have the state-of-the-art equipment. But guess what? We were getting assignments. We knew that we were going up against an armed force that had weapon system that probably could have, certainly weapon on weapon could have dominated us. But again, we have leaders, and we strategically go after these things to minimize that threat to be successful. And that's what we did. So I say all that to say that our armed forces is not weak. We may not have some little cool tool, a battleship that maybe do, but things that we have out here right now, there's no force out there that can touch us. Now, that doesn't mean that we need to, run out here and start a war. We don't want to do that. But my point is, when we start and, just publicly throwing policy out like that right now, and it's going to turn this force inside out, because it's been long enough that transgender and all these other things that has happened throughout our military, it is a part of the force now. So all of a sudden, we're going to turn
Donald Trump said, not in my army.
Because he never served. God damn it. You don't play with people's lives like this. This is a serious thing. This is the thing that bothers me most. I can deal with getting, helping to get the community. But when you start talking about now just doing things and disrupt our military readiness, you think just giving them a bunch of, high-speed equipment. No, there's a lot that goes on behind readiness. And you just don't step out there and disrupt this thing just because you are the president or the general or whomever it is. It is the way to do it, to make sure that these young men and women have the best opportunity to go out there and complete the mission and come home. And when they don't do that, I have nothing for them. And that's why we don't need a guy like Pete Hegseth as the head of the Department of Defense. And this clown spent 3 years or 4 years max.
Yeah, I said Donald trying to run. Donald trying to be the Jerry Jones of politics.
Yeah, and look at how that's worked out in the last 29 years. You don't do that. This is high risk against our armed forces. Now, if this guy would bring leaders in, because I heard one lady say, "Well, we need someone like that who is not a part of the swamp." No, you don't. You need someone who understands the global impact, the domestic. You have to understand how this thing runs. I'm a retired colonel, and I don't think I'm, with all of the experience I have, I don't have any business sitting up there trying to be the Secretary of Defense.
Hold on now. Pete Hegseth was on Fox News and he did some. Now you got a year in the media too. Now
Hey, listen, that makes him less qualified.
Yeah, that blew my mind. And again, there's still a confirmation process to that. And
but he's in.
No, he's in.
Yeah,
so that doesn't go. Or did he get confirmed?
Pete got in because it was a tie. It was tied, and then the vice president came in and was a tiebreaker.
Yeah, that's 50.
And I'm not even talking about all the other things that disqualifies him, that people were really spending more time on than checking this guy's credential. This guy doing the confirmation hearing, one of those senators asked him, what type weapon. Now, this guy was an infantryman. And don't get me wrong, all of our forces, National Guard, Reserve, all of it is important to our readiness. Don't get me wrong. So it's not a slight there. But when you start talking about a position like this guy asked him what type weapon he had. This is what he was doing to make folks believe that this guy was qualified. He told me, yeah, M4s. He said, how many rounds in a magazine? He said 30. Dude, they're 20 round magazines, partner.
What does that have to do with me?
And you're talking about stuff at an individual level. And this guy is going to, or is,
Top guy.
the Secretary of Defense, the top guy for the defense apparatus. And you're talking about an individual weapon and how many rounds in a magazine, and that makes you vote yes for this guy.
Man.
So this is where we are.
Man. Leadership.
Yeah.
That's just,
Then you get the young lady who now is going to go through the confirmation process to be the number one intelligence officer. Person in the country, 0 experience. So are we setting out? This is all a part of readiness, not just for the military, but for the country. But we're going to bring these folks in. That's why people, when you start looking at, people get concerned when you start talking about Meals on Wheels and stuff, because you're making these decisions up here that makes no sense whatsoever. At least fake that you want this thing to work properly. So yeah, so you're going to have a country that is, where I am right now. I didn't mean to get to this point, but when you start talking about dealing with these troops and our service members, I just can't let that roll, because it is what it is right now. And I thank God again for those leaders on the ground, because they're going to do what's right. They're going to be prepared, because they know the political arm of this thing is going to be out of control for a while, but they're going to make sure that these forces are ready to go, because as we deal with our foreign friends and foes, anything can pop off that's going to require somebody to go across the ocean to do something about it. We are the strong arm of the political apparatus. We are the fist, and those guys are going to always be ready, regardless of what anybody else say out here. That's what separates our military leaders from the folks that sit where who are elected officials. They know, so they shouldn't underestimate them. But again, they deserve leadership that's going to be held to the same standard they are held to. Because I guarantee you, if any of those service members have one infraction like this guy who's sitting up there now as their boss, his or her career is over, without a doubt. So do we get rid of SHARP? Do we get rid of the sexual harassment, prevention program? Do we get rid of all that too? That's all a part of the DEI.
Hey,
Do we stop protecting because we know there's a problem in the military? So then does all of this get swiped away? Now if we just free fall?
As of 5 o'clock today, it's a wrap. We'll get back to you later.
That's why people are afraid right now, because of how
they should have been scared going to the polls. This is the type of conversation that listen, you know how I swing politically, and the Democratic Party came on here. My platform is open to whoever comes on, right? And getting out to vote and doing this here, they did not. And me, I'm sitting back watching it. I'm like, man, the urgency ain't there. I was telling you the whole time. I was telling you the urgency is not there. That they really don't see. And me, I feel like the messaging, you treated the people like they were stupid, and then they just went away from it. Like, you know what, forget it. And they didn't show up, and they didn't do, and there wasn't. They needed to turn down the rhetoric and teach like the preacher did the other night. Okay, turn down the and the theatrics, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
teach people, give people what they want, give them the bread, give them the substance, and then people can debate and but just on that emotional. And now here we are. You feel what I'm saying? Here we are. Project 2025, baby. Let's get it.
Yeah, it's going to
It's
happen.
unfolding. Why? Come on, man. Like and again, part of this for me, I think this should be, and if it's not, it should be a wake up for people on the lower economic side of things.
Yeah.
You got to prepare, because there's no guarantee that Big Brother's going to be there to do it for you. Yeah, he already saying, I'm tired of you. You know what I mean? You done cut the money off today at 5 o'clock. You say what you want to say. That money's stopped right now. I'm about to text him a little bit. I'm about to text him and be like, look here. All right, they got the message, T. Let's.
Hey,
because I would be like, hey, look, you brought TikTok back. Go ahead and bring the money back, big dog.
well, I think I'm hopeful that when it goes through these, the courts and that kind of stuff, it'll and that's one thing. So then, where's Congress in all of this?
Well,
so a lot of this is mandated by Congress, where
yes,
the president just can't.
That is a big part of this, is that he is overstepping Congress's power of the purse, because a lot of these things were voted on by Congress for whatever reason. So that's why a lot of this stuff is not going to hold up, because you can't rewrite the way we do things.
Especially, yes, if it's already in law and Constitution, it's part of our Constitution, all that good business. It's going to be, but I think it's the damage along the way, the unnecessary fear, the taxes, and that's his tactics. He's never, and I give him that. He's never been one that cared about your feelings.
No, ask Colombia. You heard what happened with Colombia?
I lost track. I knew the birds went over, and then they said, no, we're not taking them. And I think
he want to have a pissing contest against Trump. Big dog, that's not what you do right now. Okay. So what happened was we sent some of their boys back, right? You know what I mean? So the president said, no, we're not taking them. We refuse any military planes coming. So okay, cool. Trump said, all right, drop them boys in Panama. Cool, no problem. Well, the biggest day for Roses coming up here in on the 14th, right? Mm-hmm. And what Colombia's biggest export product is? Them roses. Trump said, no problem. Play with me. 25% tariff today, and in a week we go to 50%. Hey, no problem, Trump. Send the guys. As a matter of fact, he sent the president of Colombia sent his plane to get them.
Now he did say that he would send his own birds over to get them. I remember that call, but and listen, I believe in a strong presence. I think that's so. Not everything is all bad. Don't get me wrong, and not every leader going to do things the same way. So I say, and you said it.
This is a lesson for the American people.
Yes, it is.
Either you feel what I'm saying? Get informed and understand what's going on, because elections have consequences.
Yep.
And so there's a saying out there that says America always gets the president it deserves. And we got T-double, baby. So, but let's see. Hold on. So, big man checking in. Democrats having a meeting tomorrow over what happened today, when Dems are always late instead of being proactive. They reactive, and that's gonna cost you. Will lose battles 7 days a week if that's your approach. If we don't have the self-awareness to say, okay, all right, hold on, let's reassess this thing and see where the messaging disconnected from, you feel what I'm saying? Because you know, it was there. But listen, have you been tracking the situation over in Kingstree, South Carolina, with Coach Smitty over there?
Just on the surface, you know, I saw some of the. I'm not sure, was that a reinstatement or a?
It was a
grievance?
mess.
Was it
That was a mess
grievance-
last night.
Grievance hearing or something.
Yeah, that was a mess. But let me run these couple things here real fast, and then we'll get on that on the backside. Welcome to Clean Feed, your gateway to elevated online events, specializing in multi-camera live streaming production. We redefine online content with superior quality. Elevate your online events with Clean Feed and stand out in a world of high-quality production. Join us for a seamless blend of technology and creativity. Clean Feed, high-quality streaming. Whoa, I didn't mean.
It's like
I
squirrel.
got that thing. I'm sorry, I hit the wrong. I didn't even go play the commercial. But I gotta keep that. That did not age well at all. That's my.
I was like, what in the world?
That's old Diddy and old Hitty. You know. But so anyway, yeah, they had this meeting over here. Hold on, let me get this stopped. They had it was a council meeting, and they got a large council again. I don't know how it breaks down, but it wasn't an official here. So here's where the confusion started at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that you can go online, you can see in Live 5 News where the principal must have reached out to Live 5 News, and he also did it on social media where he stated that he was going to reinstate the coach, right? And the principal being this guy right here. Let me find a picture of him, right? There he is right there. There is the principal who, and I got a new term because I've never seen a principal with a hat like that. So he is the pimpsiple for me. Okay. And I'm gonna leave that up there because I think that's funny. And I want to take credit for giving him that name. Okay. So Mr. Mark Frazier, inbox me any complaints or concerns about that name. So if you try to trademark it or anything, you're gonna have to see me because you've seen it here first. But anyway, the principal, Mark Frazier, Mark Frazier, tongue twister, made a unilateral decision to fire Coach Smitty, Coach Brian Smith, who was head coach over at Kingstree High School. And so this meeting consisted of this guy right here who's an attorney. He used to be the attorney for the county, as a matter of fact, for the Williamsburg County.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke on behalf of Coach Smitty. And in this piece right here, he's saying that in his 60 years of watching Kingstree football, he's never heard of 26 players in 60 years getting signed to scholarships, much less in the last 10 years. And so, but man, it was a public outpouring of love. Former players came and spoke, you know, and it got passionate. They got, you know, but it was all based on the decision of this man. Now, this gentleman right here is the superintendent, and he said nothing the entire meeting. Again, I don't know if it's his role to speak or whatever, or not to speak, but yeah, that was interesting. But anyway, the meeting got hit. Let's play a little bit of this right here, and you tell me what you think about it.
I had watched high school Kingstree football, literally all my life. I've never known 26 people in the last 60 years to get college football scholarships, much less in the past 10 years, all directly because of Coach Smitty's efforts.
When is the legislative delegation itself is going to, sometimes they
All right, now it just in that clip we just changed. First, what did you think about what the lawyer said? And what do you think about that statement that he made, that he hasn't, in 60 years of watching high school football, he hasn't heard of 26 players in 60 years being signed?
Yeah, and that's a big deal, you know, especially around, you know, our area, Williamsburg, Georgetown County, or probably almost anywhere. If he was implying or saying that Coach Smith is responsible for that many people receiving it, that is a huge deal. And I don't question that, because, you know, of course, we did a podcast with Coach Smitty.
Oh, it's confirmed. I mean,
yeah. So I think he's who he is. I think he is a great
even
coach.
while this is going on, the lawyer pointed out that Coach Smitty had 2 players signed in the last week, one up at Limestone, and these are players that he drove around in his own car with his own gas money,
Yeah,
to get this done. And I say, these were black young men.
Yeah. So no, I have no doubts that Coach Smitty is who he described himself to be, and it was just a joy to hear, to hear, because again, I wasn't there to witness that a coach go to that level, spending his own resources to get kids an opportunity, and he really understands how this thing works better than any of us. We learned a lot that night talking to him. So I'm I don't know what happened. I don't know.
It was a decision by the principal. And what's crazy is that it's not like other places aren't offering this man. It's not like he don't have an opportunity to go. He wants to be there to coach in King Street.
And you don't find that kind of a caliber of a coach or anybody that wants to stay in.
I'm not dealing with no principal that walk around with a hat like that. That's just me. I'm keeping it a buck. You know what I mean? I'm not dealing with no principal. No, not at all.
I've never met the young man, but it sounds like, and just reading all.
I've never met him either, Mayor, but I know a pimp when I see one, sir. And I know I'm going hard on this, but the hat just got me. I'm sorry. Teacher Principal of the Year, Principal of the Year. But go ahead, what you was saying.
Yeah, and just hearing the outpour from the students. Again, I watched some of it. I read some of the stuff, when it first hit a few weeks ago, and the decision was made, and I don't think it's clear. Now, what's confusing is that there was an article before this meeting that with
said he was reinstated.
He's reinstated, and I think
that's what came out last night, and everybody knew this except Smitty. Smitty has a coach. I'm saying, like, I know Coach Smith has not received anything from the principal or the school board. But this man went to, because the lawyer said it was somebody trying to make themselves look good. Obviously, I mean, he went on social media, went to Facebook. Then he went to, I guess, once the public, I don't think the principal was expecting the backlash. Obviously, he wasn't expecting the backlash. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made the move that he made to try to reinstate him on some slick stuff.
Yeah, and again, there's always activity going on behind the scene on what but again, it hasn't been revealed. Other than I think the statement was made that they weren't pleased with it.
He underperformed.
He underperformed or didn't make expectation. And again, back to the attorney's point, you have your record speaks for yourself. And in fact, there's a young man that's going to be playing in the Super Bowl here in a couple of weeks that he coached from not Carversville, I'm sorry, but from C.E. Murray.
He didn't meet King Street. He didn't meet the principal's expectations, but Coach Smitty was tagged, and you see this, what this is? This is for his selection to coach in the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah, that's huge, man.
And like the lawyer said, that's the Super Bowl of high school football in South Carolina. That's when the best of South Carolina play the best of North Carolina.
Oh,
now they thought, and this is not a when you apply for this position, you're selected for that.
Yep, that's huge.
Yeah.
You're not
You
going
know
to
what I
find
mean?
very many coaches around, here that has, again, the credentials that he has, man. So it's unfortunate because, again, it disrupts his program. The kids, they're all upset. Obviously, they all came out in numbers, and saying me, and so if it was a misconduct or something else that that should have been said,
Yeah,
and you have to
listen.
deal with that. You could be the best of the best, but if you got a misconduct situation, but that's not the case.
No.
At least that's not been shared with everybody.
This case mirrors the same thing that happened over at Carver's Bay with Larry Odom when he was the principal over there. They went and they made a move, fired this beloved figure in the community, and here we go. And pretty much the same situation. That's kind of just what it is. And so, and also in this part, right, and I want to get your thoughts on this right here. What the gentleman responded to was the fact that Mr. Burgess there, in the blue jacket, I guess he's the liaison between that body and the State Department. And so the gentleman was saying prior to that, Mr. Burgess read a report, and in that report, he basically just read an article about moves to allow people in South Carolina to purchase lottery tickets with their debit card, which is savage to me. But
What was that again? So that was a part of this conversation?
Yeah, that was a part of this conversation. And so the gentleman who's off camera to the left, he said, why don't the board, the State Department, those folks come down and address this board directly? Because, of course, the State Department is in control of Williamsburg County, but it's going to come out in this part of the thing. I was trying to give you some context, but here's the rest of it.
Update the board on what's going on since they want to run it so badly. Every now and then, they ought to come in person and tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Reverend Darby, for your question. Mr. Burgess, we will, since you chair that, will you please invite the delegation to come and present to the board and just let us know in time. Thank you. Thank you, Reverend Darby.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
All right. And you don't have to respond to this. I don't know. Okay. I don't know. I mean, I thought the gentleman in the blue coat, burgundy shirt was a principal in Georgetown County. And it's not a conflict of interest to sit on a board. Obviously, it's not because he's doing it.
Yeah, I don't think so. He's in and he lives in a different county. That's no.
Okay, so
yeah.
he's I got you. And again, I don't know, so that's why I'm kind of asking, and hopefully somebody that could is versed on that can give me some
Yeah, he can hold elected position over in Williamsburg County side
and work over in another school district.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it's great to have that level of experience with the principal sitting on the board. I don't know the rest. I think I've met the superintendent, but I'm not sure. But not familiar with the rest of those guys. But there have been challenges, obviously, over years with the board and
yeah, they've been calling for his head. Ooh, online, they was calling for his. That's we talk about that mob justice. Boy, listen. If Facebook had a say in it, yeah, he was done yesterday.
Yeah, and it's just these positions, all of them public, just like this one, and people, justifiably or not, people will come for you, and you become the worst thing ever. But I hope this thing works out for all involved, especially the kids, and Coach Smith, because they certainly believe in him. He's a proven leader, coach. Community activist, because he's going out of his way to take care of these kids, and we absolutely need that. You recall when we were coming up, we had great coaches and stuff like that, but no one ever put me in that. Maybe I wasn't that good anyway. They rather put me in the car and say, hey, let's go. So we're going to get you looked at. It's different. And so when you have that kind of a compassionate leader, you need to do what you can. And again, meeting expectation. I'm not so sure what that means when the guy has a track record of like recent I'm not talking 10 years ago. Right now, getting kids, an opportunity to play at the next level. So, I'm a Coach Smith fan, man. So,
and I'm a fan of them folks over there at Carvers Bay. I've been tracking over there, man. They've had every major coach out of the SEC and ACC to visit their campus in the last week or so. Today it was North Carolina State. It was
Bill Belichick, huh?
Bill Belichick. It was I seen Kirby Smart down there from Georgia. You know what I mean? Like,
Kirby was there,
right there at the Bay.
But hey, guess what? I mean, you got a 5+ star player that everybody's chomping at to get down. Brother Giles.
Yep.
Is highly recruited right now. And I believe we have some of that same talent. So we got to figure out how do we,
Well, that's the part. That's the part. The folks up in Carvers Bay been sharing this information. You know what I mean? How this happens. So we got that part now. Now it's the as a matter of fact, there's an unrecruited senior camp that's coming up that I'm about to get some information on. And at this point now, all we can do is present the information. Okay, we present the information, and it's on your parents, and don't wait till the senior year, right? Don't wait till your son or daughter has to go to it, because again, if you didn't know before, you didn't know. But that's slowly becoming an argument that we can't depend on anymore. And again, here are some of these camps. There's the Rivals camp. You can go and look this stuff up. You can start your kid as soon as 9th grade, getting them into these camps, getting onto into those books where those college recruiters are looking at. Okay, you got to go where they are at, and here's where they are at. They're going to be at the Rivals, where you can go and get yourself evaluated, basically, and get some official numbers on you. And again, this is one. Go ahead.
Yeah, and you're not talking about it. We have to get because again, looking at this is one thing, but who's going to someone needs to sit down with the parents and the player, the student athlete, and help them understand all of this and the urgency and what the resources required to make this happen. And we need more of that.
No doubt.
We need more of that. And so I hope this whole thing works out, man, because it is.
Well, and I'm gonna put a wrap on it right here. I want to play this last part of it, where I guess the what came out of that meeting last night was the fact that this board does not have the final say in decisions. Okay, so I'm gonna play this last piece right here.
Okay.
Yes, I would just like to, Dr. Burgess, just like to thank the folks that talked today. We appreciate you children coming to talk to us about your concerns. Matter of fact, we appreciate the community coming to us to talk about your concerns. As we know, and I'm talking for myself, the school board is no longer in charge of this district. The decisions that we make, we don't make decisions. We're more like an advisory board at this point. And I have to say this because I have gotten a lot of calls for the last 7 to 10 days about the situation that's going on. Yes, we are a school board, but we don't make no decisions as a final decision. The decision that's made from this school board goes up to the State Department of Education, which is in control of this district. Now, we want control back so we can make some sound decisions. And I understand what you're going through as a community. I'm appalled by all what's going on myself. But at the end of the day, I would like to be able to make decisions. I would like to vote on things. But everything we vote on is going to go to the State Department, and they're going to decide whether they make that decision or kick it out. So I want the public to know that, this school board is here to do our job, but we can't do anything. I'm a former Army officer. I don't go to war without a gun. I can't fight no war if I don't have a gun. So I want that to be understood. Thank you.
Recently get correspondence from the State Department of Education, and we are in transition to full control. The board does have the authority and this is where the question is coming from Mr. Singleton, we do have authority to make decisions. Most of our decisions will be ratified. However, the state has informed us that we are to perform our duties as any other board in the state of South Carolina, with that exception. So we do have some authorities as we transition back to full control. Mr. Williams, am I correct, or do we need to add something to that?
You are correct, but they still, as you said, they're still ratifying your action.
Right.
Excuse me, could you explain what ratifying mean? Because some folks don't know that. When you say ratifying,
They would need to have final approval,
the
essentially.
State Department.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mighty big exception.
I want to talk to them two guys on the end, man. Hey, because what the lady did was, and you know, again, I don't have no personal stake in this, but in my opinion, what she did was disingenuous because she said nothing. She said exactly what the gentleman had said before. Like, we don't have final say on these decisions. And, you know, she tried to clean it up with the word ratify. And I like the way he called it, like, hey, define ratify.
Well, I heard a little bit different.
Okay.
I think and it may be certain things like, probably this, because I don't see why reinstating, I'm assuming that's what they were trying to do, to reinstate Coach, or what, wasn't completely clear, but we do know that he's no longer has his coaching job. He's still a teacher there, from my understanding. Why would that need to go all the way to the state? Maybe that's what she was speaking about. He's looking at overall.
Well, no, because she said to the lawyer in another piece, another part of that, she said to the lawyer that, hey, look, we don't have the authority to negotiate a contract. And the lawyer suggested that, no, we're not here to negotiate a contract. We're asking you guys to consider, you know what I mean, a contract, because obviously they want, it's
which is a different issue than what the folks are talking about. I mean, obviously he was working and he was coaching. Mm-hmm. Now, if he wants a different, a change in his contract, a whole different animal.
And I think that's the case. If they want to reinstate him, they need to put it. They need to lay it out. What are these expectations? X, Y, Z.
Right. So this again. That piece, to your point, was probably not a good, didn't display any unity among that board, and that's unfortunate. But that's where it happens in politics, man. It's just, you're gonna have someone on opposite end of the issue, and they want to air it all out, thinking that's going to benefit or give people the confidence that this elected body is moving on the same sheet of music, and that's unfortunate. So that doesn't help any of that, to be honest with you. But again, I'm rooting for Coach, rooting for the kids until it's time for Andrews to play them.
There you go.
But yeah, man, that's a lot of that's going on right around in our neck of the woods as well. All kind of little ups and downs. But I want to say to the folks out there, man, back to our topic for today is, really it's kind of a focus, not necessarily a topic, but what's happening, at the national level that's going to have an impact on us as a community, you as an individual, and you as a family. Is you need to pay close attention. I have some friends tell me they're not watching this stuff. I said, you better watch it, because you don't know. You don't know the particulars, because an executive order of any kind of deal has a whole lot behind it. So if he said cut this program here, there may be some other programs that are not. It may be just DEI on the face of it, but what are those other programs down the line that's going to have effect? So you need to understand and read and pay attention to what's going on. And Jamal, as you said, this train left the station.
Yes.
We're here now. So what do we do? How do we prepare for worst case scenario? And that's really where it's sitting right now. But but anytime, and guys, I would never apologize for my reaction when it comes down to our readiness of our forces and how our leaders, are taking care of business down there, regardless of what happened on the political front. I am confident, I will always be that leaders are going to be leaders on the ground, and our troops are going to be ready. So But they do deserve qualified leaders that are held to the same standard that they are. And we put a lot on each other inside of the armed forces in terms of being as close a model person, being an example. Now we don't get it right all the time. Don't get me wrong, but it's difficult to ask a troop to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. But at the end of the day, they're gonna handle the mission. Okay.
No doubt, man. Listen, I encourage everybody to go and seek that document out and read it for yourself, and discuss it amongst your people. To some of your church leaders, you really need to think about adding that, having a breakdown of it. And if you don't understand, get with somebody that has some understanding of it. You know what I mean? The worst thing we can do is just put out more bad information just because you feel a certain way. But I think this was a productive conversation tonight. And I think we got to kind of keep an eye on this. Like we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Because this is, there was a lot of anxiety today. And
once we get past this part, the anxiety and the emotion, then we'll start with some solutions, man. Because we're going to have to talk about those things. What are some solutions now? Not just what we're facing. What's the counter to it?
Yeah, because again, if
and I hopefully we'll have some guests from the Pentagon, some of the agencies in Washington D.C. that will come on and help shine some light.
If they if you find some time in during the week or something like that, I think this topic is important enough that we definitely can pop back in and
okay
and revisit this.
Because I can imagine. I've been there when there's these kind of things happen. It's everybody scrambling. So I mean, they were having.
But I mean, that's listen. Any change in government like that, you know what I mean? There's gonna be that, and so
yeah. So when they get settled in, hopefully we'll get them on before the end of the week.
No doubt. And so any guys listening, if you haven't hit that follow button, I don't know what's wrong with you. You need to go ahead and hit that follow button. This is the #1 political talk show in Georgetown County. You know what I mean? You see it right there, Real Talk Tuesday, every Tuesday right here. And if there's somebody that you think we should be talking to, please inbox me and let us know, because definitely that's the thing, man. Just join the conversation. And I would ask that you guys do this for us in the future. The guys, everybody that's watching, give us some questions, okay? Drop some questions in there. Along with your comments. But all in all, y'all be safe, and we're out.